Hey guys, I am back and here is how the page looks right now. Now I'm not going to record any more background of panel 1. That's just going to be done when I have a little bit of time. I'm just going to continue to draw and color in the background as it would fill in these gaps over here. I may add a multiply layer in this foreground foliage because it is in the foreground and I do like to have more layers and complexity the closer to the camera it is. So that might be something I'll be doing, but this is all going to be done off camera. What I want to do right now is work on panel 3. And I think the sketches are pretty decent. I mean, they're not good enough. So I'm going to use them as a jumping off point or a reference point to just kind of feel like, okay, that's the feeling I want. These are the basic poses, but I'm going to need some help because I don't know. I just can't really trust myself to do a good enough job, at least in a timely manner. And there's nothing worse than spending a lot of time working on something that looks really good technically, but it just doesn't have the feeling you want. The pose isn't right, the expression isn't right. And I'm no expert. I could have all the help I want, and sometimes it's still not going to look good or good enough, quote unquote. But I have these mannequins for Maya. I guess they could be used for other 3D programs as well, but Maya is the one I use. It's the same ones that I've been using on my Stupid Girl, but I haven't used these guys in a year since I recorded my last video using them. And I don't want to use them all the time. It's just when there's a point where I feel like it's going to be too difficult, I'm going to use the mannequins. Why not? That's what they're there for. I can pose it exactly the way I want. I can move the camera anywhere. It's still going to come down to me actually drawing it. Now I never trace the mannequins. That's just not going to happen. I'm going to draw it, but I'm going to use the mannequins as like a photo reference. And with the ability to move the camera around at different angles, like this camera angle is going to be, the camera is going to be low, looking up at them. So it's not going to be a severe worm's eye view. It's just going to be, the camera is going to be looking up at them. And I need to take that into account. So, all right, enough about that. I just wanted to explain what I'm doing. So here I am in Maya, and I'm going to do a create. I don't need to do this actually, but I'm going to do a, I don't know, I guess a cylinder. And I will just do 90 degrees. And it'll do something like this. So anyway, all right. So this is going to be where they are going to be standing. This is sort of what's the stand-in for the hill. They can be up here. My guy can be down here. And I can just kind of have something to ground them, which is the point. So now I'm going to open up, or I'm going to import one of my models. And I'm going to use the same model for all 3 of them. So I'll just duplicate her 3 times or import her 3 different times. All right, so that pops up. Don't worry about it. Wow, so that's super freaking big. But I don't want to mess with any of these controls. So instead of changing the size of her, I am just going to change the size of this little makeshift hill. And I will have her standing. So, all right. All right, so that's going to be Tina, not Stella. My bad. Let's go back and see. So we'll just start with this one over here. Nah, we'll just start with the main one because I think that's the one that's the most important. And let's go ahead. So it's been a little while since I've done this. So let's see. Actually, what I'm going to do, I don't want to move that. So I'm going to go over here to the channel box or the layer editor. And I'm going to select this button over here, create a new layer and assign. And I'm going to make it reference. The R means reference, which means now no matter what I do, I'm not going to mess with that, which is my goal. I don't want to do anything to the hill. So I'm going to move it over here, and I think she would have perhaps, I mean, this is just like kind of figuring it out, like how I want it to be, and it's going to take a while. So, um, yeah, we'll see. I might cut out some of this if it becomes really tedious, and then I'll just fast forward basically to the point that she has the pose that I want. But yeah, it's a little bit time consuming, but at the same time, I mean, where it you can see where it comes in handy because sure, you're going to have to really take your time to kind of make this character pose the way that you want. And it's just like a one-time thing. You're only going to pose her for one panel. But in the scheme of things, at the end of the day, it's just a matter of do you really want to spend the time to pose her? Oh my God, that looks terrible, right? So, do you really want to spend the time to pose her for one panel, or do you just want to say, you know what, I think I can do this by myself? So that would be really a tight curve or bend in her arm. I can imagine but see, it still looks terrible. All right, so let's see. If I were to, so that one doesn't work. Let's see. If I were to, okay, so that's weird. I thought this was, so this needs to be, okay, so her arm, all right, so this still looks pretty awful. to be honest. I'm going to have to get up out of my chair and actually pose it and just try to feel the pose, because even though I'm using a little bit of drawing reference, and now, I mean, let me, for example, so I'm typing in here, I typed in archery. So, for example, I think something like this is a pretty good place to start. So let's see how this goes.